out to Zach, May, Star K, and the bar. 3 for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Number 4, we're still waiting for you. Bring on the chase. Out on the field, a mile high, Broncos win is our desire. With a breakfast crew and a friendly orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us at the end. We are DNVR.
Welcome in to the DNVR Broncos pregame show brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Big shout out to DraftKings Sportsbook, the single most elite sportsbook in the world. And so get on over to DraftKings Sportsbook, check out all they have to offer. We'll talk a little bit more about that and some bets later. But first, we got to talk about a massive game for the Broncos kicking off in just under an hour. Really a chance to erase an 0-3 start. Honestly, in most seasons, if you start 0-3, you're cooked. But to basically erase that in one, like the second fastest way possible is something that can't be understated. And if the Broncos can pull this off, all bets are off in terms of, you know, their goals. Like, they can be right back on track to be where they were. If you told me they would start 4-4 in the first 8 games of the season before this all started, I'd say you take that. So this is a massive game. But guys, it really, in my opinion, is going to come down to which team handles injuries better. And the Broncos are going to be extremely depleted. So I want to get your guys' takes on this first before I give my take. But Broncos without either of their top 2 corners, and they're going to have to go up against a Falcons team without Calvin Ridley, but they still have Julio Jones. Andre, how are they going to handle this?
I saw your theory on our Slack, right? I think that's a good one, that they'll bracket and try to double Julio as much as possible and, generally just implement a lot more zone. The concerns are going to be when Julio's inevitably lined up with one of the smaller corners opposite AJ Bouye. That could prove to be an issue on paper. But yeah, you're just going to have to try and force Julio to snake through those zones and Matt Ryan to find those openings and really avoid at all costs any one-on-ones outside, because that's going to spell trouble in a major way, I guess.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Like, you are terrified of Julio. Like, you can double that man if you want. It's one of the 3 best receivers who's ever lived. He's going to be able to go do the things that he does no matter what you do. But yeah, I mean, with Callahan out, things got a whole lot easier. I think that with the normal defense, under these circumstances where there's no Calvin Ridley, you strongly consider double teaming Julio Jones. In this situation, you just have to double team him and also hope for the best on top of that.
Yeah, back when Steph Curry was in college, one of the teams that they played just ran a triangle and 2 on him, and it wasn't when he was on the ball. It was the entire game. No matter where he was on the court, they just put 2 guys on him the entire time. Mm-hmm. That team still lost, it should be noted. But they did hold Steph Curry to like 3 points in the entire game, which I found to be an impressive feat. That's kind of the strategy that I would employ if I'm the Broncos. Yes, is Russell Gage a competent NFL receiver? That's probably going to be a mismatch against a guy like Sang Bassi on the other side. Yeah, but I'll take my chances with Russell Gage on a Sang Bassi more than I will with Michael AJ Bouye covering Julio Jones. Like, it's just, that's not an option. So I might even consider having Bassi and a safety over Jones as much as you can, put AJ Bouye on the other side going up against Russell Gage. Now I feel a little more comfortable. Like, Julio's going to get his. You're not going to be able to do what that team did against Davidson and hold him to 3 points or 3 yards. But you can stop him from just gouging you up and down the field all day by just saying like, no, we're not gonna give you matchups that you like.
Yeah. Looking at that, even the first drive of that game last week for Julio, I mean, I think he had like 4 catches, and they were all like 10, 15, 20 yards downfield, and somehow wide open. Like, that's the thing you can't do, is make those catches easy. But you either let him force you to double team him, or you just do it yourself because you know it's coming. Hopefully they get creative. I think you can even just run like some sort of zone man hybrid, where that's how you think of double teaming Julio. Like, wherever he lines up, corner crossman's in man, everybody else in zone. Just, you got to get a bunch of guys near him, especially when they don't have Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, and I mean, a concern is that you're going to get, ultra, I guess conservative is maybe not quite the right term, but you really don't want to allow Julio to break any big ones. So that's when you can get in danger of playing off too much, giving too much of a cushion, especially with these young corners. And, then Julio and Matt Ryan can carve you up pretty easily, like you were describing on the first drive last week. Then the other thing that this lack of cornerback depth is really going to impact is how much are the Broncos going to feel confident in their ability to play in nickel? Because now you are short 2 cornerbacks with having to play 5 DBs. That certainly factors in a lot. But, the other side of nickel defense is having to play 3 defensive linemen. That's another area where the depth is just depleted. I mean, this is the ultimate 2020 game, and we can talk about all the depth issues the Falcons have on the defensive side, not just Calvin Ridley. So it's really going to be interesting. Do the Falcons have the depth to play a lot of 3 wide and force the Broncos into nickel, because that's where Todd Gurley and the run game is going to be at their best? Or do they go more heavy and force the Broncos to stay in heavier formations with just 4 DBs and try to, take advantage of 1 less DB on the field for those matchups with Julio? The personnel battles are going to be really interesting here.
Couple things real quick. A couple people asking about the tailgate. The tailgate will be back next week, we assume. We're excited for that. And also, if you're watching us on YouTube, we'd love if you hit us with a thumbs up on this video, and
Please
also
do.
Subscribe to the DNVR YouTube channel. And if you're feeling really generous, right next to the subscribe button, there's a little alerts button. It's a little bell. Click that as well, and you'll know whenever we're going live. So appreciate all of you guys for doing that. Okay. You mentioned, going nickel or going base. To me, as crazy as this may sound, as important as it is to double Julio Jones, which I really think should just be a non-starter, just do it. Forget about everything else. Yeah. You also have to stop the run with your guys up front. You cannot have to add guys to the box, because like, this is all a math equation, right?
Yes.
If you're adding guys to the box, you're taking them away from somewhere else. Yep. You can't double Julio Jones all day and add guys to the box at the same time. Like, you have to choose one. So you do not have the luxury of adjusting to the run game. You just have to stop it straight up. And that's going to be really difficult, because the Broncos don't have not a single guy from their opening day starting defensive line. It's going to be Deshaun Williams. It's going to be Draymond Jones. It's going to be DeMarcus Walker. These are supposed to be like decent depth pieces, other than Draymond, who I really like. Now they're your starters, and you're asking them, hey, we need you to stop the run, like, straight up. We do have to win one-on-one matchups all day long. The Broncos and Vic Fangio's defense is really good at doing that most of the time. But between those guys, Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson, like, you have no choice. Those guys have to stop the run.
And the good news is that Todd Gurley has lost a step. Like, he's still like a big, strong running back. He'll turn a 2-yard gain into a 4-yard gain. If he gets loose a couple of times, he's not going to hurt you the way that a lot of other running backs can at this point in his career. And that makes me more confident going into it with a light box, because I don't think he's, at this point, turning a 12-yard gain because he gets some space into 30, 40, or housing it.
Yeah, I mean, he's no Jarek Broussard. We know that at this point in his career. That's for sure. But look, Todd Gurley's surprised us this year with how well he's ran. And they have Brian Hill, who to me is looking more and more like this guy's ready to break out. So, and the bigger concern is with a little more depth than they had, than they'll have this week against the Chargers, that Broncos run defense. It was such an odd game to grade because they actually made close to 15 run stuffs or tackles for a loss, so really stopping the run right around the line of scrimmage. So an incredible amount of plays around the line of scrimmage, but then once the Chargers could get to that second level, they seemed to get a lot of easy yards. So, you talked about the linebackers. Joshi Jewell, I thought, had his worst game of the season. He needs a big bounce back against Todd Gurley in this Falcons attack. And Alexander Johnson, a lot is asked of him, but, he has to be that guy against the run. And Kareem Jackson, who had some incredible hits in the last game, Kareem giveth and Kareem taketh away, because sometimes in an attempt to get those monster hits, he can take bad angles, and he was sometimes a little guilty of letting those big runs from the Chargers become bigger. So, everyone's going to have to be real sound in this one against the run, because you let Todd Gurley get in a rhythm, then it's going to be really hard to stop Julio, Matt Ryan, if that Falcons attack is balanced.
But saying all of this, we haven't even mentioned the offense yet. And that is probably what this game comes down to, is can the offense keep up? I have faith in this Broncos defense to force enough field goals. I think that they can. I think they're going to give up a hell of a lot of yards. But I think they can bow their backs in the red zone. And that's what this game's going to come down to, is red zone conversions. If the Broncos, because I think the Broncos are also going to rack up a ton of yards. And so it's going to come down to, can you score in the red zone? Broncos have had a problem with that for an entire presidency right now. So it's gonna, like Albert Okwuegbunam, are you making catches in the end zone? Or Jerry Jeudy, is he finally getting targeted down there? Tim Patrick, can you catch a fade ball? Like, this is what this game is going to come down to me. And I think you have a little bit of hope that the Broncos are moving in the right direction there. And I think a lot of the hope for me is Albert Okwuegbunam. I legitimately think that he is the best red zone threat they've had in a while.
Yeah. And on the other side of the ball, like Julio, he has won 10 touchdown season in his entire career way back in 2012. He hasn't had double-digit touchdowns in 8 seasons, which is just crazy. But for some reason, that man doesn't get it done in the red zone. Like, he should be incredible in the red zone. So the good news for the Broncos is that maybe you don't double him in the red zone, because for some reason he's never proven it. Load that box. I don't know.
What a poor take. Now, let's say
the problem with forever is he can't score in the red zone.
The Falcons are absolutely a terrible red zone team. I don't know how much of that I would put on Julio. I would still guard against that, but I think that's a really good point, is that it is going to come down to who's more efficient in the red zone. That's another area where maybe the Broncos finally figured something out and saw something click at the end of last week. Ryan, can we get a quick recap of who's even available on offense? Because the injuries today are sounder. Phil's in, Tim Patrick's in, the O-line.
Everyone's there except for Graham Glasgow, who has been largely bad this year.
Shout out to Double G.
Like, Austin Slotman doesn't even feel like that much of a downgrade to me. But you have Phillip Lindsay out there, and I teased this. Now, this was before the Bryce Callahan injury came out. But I teased this as I'll tell you about the most important 2 tweets of the Broncos season. They came in just before midnight Eastern, 10 p.m. Mountain Time last night. And in a series of 1 minute, Adam Schefter tweeted that Phillip Lindsay is playing and Calvin Ridley is not playing. And right then I was like, well, there it is. Like, now the Broncos have a really good chance of winning this game. Before then, the Callahan injury news comes out, and now it's a little bit more scary. Right. But I still think, like, those 2 tweets to be the difference in this game is you get Phillip Lindsay, who, I mean, once again, what's going on at DraftKings Sportsbook? He's set at 36.5 rushing yards. That's like 4 carries for him based on the current way he's running the ball.
4 carries, yeah.
It could be the first touch of the game he gets that. So anyways, I think that is massive. I think Phillip Lindsay makes this offense dynamic. You're going to have dynamic offense today out there. Love to see Melvin Gordon prove himself to be the red zone killer that he has been in the past, because, again, that's why the Broncos signed him. There's a lot of reasons why they might have wanted to add a guy like Melvin Gordon, who is a very good player. But it came down to they know that they've struggled getting the ball in the end zone for the entire Trump era. And they brought in Melvin Gordon because he's one of the best red zone backs in the NFL. And he hasn't shown that yet. Now, I think he actually still leads the team in touchdowns, which, says a lot because it doesn't feel like he's doing that well. He's gotten it in on the goal line. But you need, once in a while, you need to score from the 12-yard line on a run play. And the Broncos I couldn't tell you the last time I remember them doing that. So those things are going to be huge. But to have Phillip Lindsay out there, and then last week I thought you really saw the effects of not having Tim Patrick out there, which meant the Broncos were down their top 2 best receiving weapons, or at least their number 1 archetype receivers. That you forced Jerry Jeudy to go from, when you drafted him, you were hoping he was going up against number 2s and 3s. Now he's going up against number 1s. Tim Patrick being out there changes that again. Yeah. And we know that the Falcons secondary's number 2s and 3s are not very good at all. So Jerry Jeudy should have a chance to eat out there today. And Tim Patrick he stretches the defense in a different way that they didn't have last week. That's huge to have him back.
Yeah, 100%. Having that speed from Tim Patrick outside, him and Drew have really been feeling it. I mean, Albert O and Tim Patrick have kind of become Drew's favorite wide receivers early on this year since Drew's been back. So that's definitely big. It's nice that the Broncos have basically all their weapons. And on the defensive side, the Falcons are missing their top 2 edge rushers, which I think is really key. I mean, this isn't a good defense as is with Takaris McKinley and Dante Fowler, but you take those guys out, the Broncos Drew could really have a lot of time to operate in the pocket. And when you give, a full complement of Broncos wide receivers, almost a lot of time to get open, good things could happen.
Great things could happen. I do think the Broncos need to run the ball. That has to be a staple of this offense. And that's, if you want to give the Falcons defense a strength, they're definitely better at stopping the run than they are at stopping the pass. So you have to, you're better at running the ball than you are passing the ball, or at least you should be. So you have to outstrength their strength today. I think Phillip Lindsay needs to be fed. I think that if the under hits on his rushing yards, the Broncos are in big trouble.
Yeah, it's time to just feed that man the ball, especially against this defense. They struggle defending the pass, but they really struggle defending the run. I feel like that is where you take advantage of them, especially with all these guys in the front 7 out. Feed Phil today. It's time to just do it and see what happens. And I have a feeling that good things will happen. The man is averaging 6.5 yards per carry this season. Why not give him the ball?
Yeah. No, you got to feed Phil if he's fully healthy. The other thing is with those edge rush injuries, some RPOs, some little option football, stressing those edges. And maybe that's where Melvin Gordon can get going. I did think in that fourth quarter against the Chargers, specifically that final drive, Melvin Gordon's impact as a receiving back was felt tremendously. Obviously, he has that crazy one-handed bobble and is able to stretch for the first down. That's where Melvin Gordon really gives you value. We're just not seeing him get out in space enough and try to break some one-on-one tackles. Now, it's up to Melvin Gordon to break more of those, but I did like what we saw there, and I think that needs to be a greater part of the game plan this week, especially in, again, stressing those edges since they've got backups on either side.
All right. Yesterday, I got a call from one of my buddies who's a big Buffs fan, and he reminded me of a fun thing that we always do before the games. He always says, just give me your prediction for offensive player of the game and your prediction for defensive player of the game. So I want to bring that here to our pregame show. Henry, I'll start with you. Give me an offensive player of the game for the Broncos and a defensive player of the game for the Broncos.
That's a tough one. I'd say offensive player of the game is Drew. You know, as much as I think that Phil has a really good chance to just rip this defense apart, how much is he really going to be on the field? As much as I hate to say it. Whereas Drew's going to be out there. You know that Drew is going to have success, or at least he should have success, because everybody else who's played the Falcons and has thrown the ball has had success. So I think that he has to be the safest pick, and so I'll take him. Defensively, what I'd like to say is it's OJ. Like if I could pick somebody to be the defensive player, that's who I'd choose. I think Draymond has a good chance, but I think it's Justin Simmons. I think that again, it's probably a pretty conservative pick, but he is going to be tasked with stopping the passing game in a lot of different ways, and I think that this has to be one of the games where he just steps up.
Yeah, you talk about limiting big plays and stuff. Simmons is big in that. And we haven't talked about Hayden Hurst, but, limiting Hayden Hurst definitely big. And that even more so than usual will fall on Justin Simmons' shoulders, just because the depth at corner is what it is. I like those picks. If Henry hadn't said Drew, I would have gone with that. I'll add to Drew. I think this is one game. Last year, every win the Broncos had when Drew Lock started at quarterback, he ran for over 5 yards. He's only done that once this year, and it was just an 8-yard gain. We saw Drew Lock get his swagger back in that fourth quarter against the Chargers, depleted pass rush for the Falcons. I think with a little more time, we'll see more scrambles and a few more runs. But without being boring and saying 2 offensive players of the game, I really think this is a game where Jerry Jeudy gets going. I think it's just a matter of time, and this Falcons defense will give him the space that you need. And I'm a Draymond guy. I expect Draymond to essentially play like 90-95% of the snaps. That Falcons interior O-line is pretty green, and Draymond is a force. As a pass rusher already. You give him more and more snaps against a really immobile quarterback like Matt Ryan, I think Draymond's going to have a very big day.
I like all of your picks. I'm tempted to go Phillip Lindsay as my offensive player of the game, but I don't trust the Broncos coaches to use him enough. There you go, Drew Lock plus 100 on over 5.5 rushing yards.
Love it.
I like that pick. We're going to talk bets here in just a second. But I'm going to go with more of a dark horse pick and say Albert Okwuegbunam. He's Drew Lock's favorite. The coaching staff weirdly thought they could get away with not involving him in the game plan last week. They realized that was idiotic and put him in there, and he made 3 of the 5 biggest plays of the game probably. They learned their lesson. Give Drew his security blanket. I don't know what we're thinking out here. And you put him out there, and Drew's going to throw him the ball. Somehow people are trying to make this into a bad thing, like a negative narrative against Drew Lock, that he really likes throwing to a 6'5" guy who runs a 4.4. But
it's football nepotism, Ryan.
Oh, it's terrible. In the last 2 weeks, Drew Lock has targeted Albert Okwuegbunam 10 times. You have 8 catches and 2 pass interferences. So you'll take that. 1 in the end zone, which won them the football game. Feed him. Don't get stupid here. Just put him on the field and let Drew Lock throw him the ball. That's what I'm saying. So I think he ends up with the best game of his career. I think he scores the touchdown early in this game. And I think that he just consistently is getting himself open over the middle of the field, and Drew Lock will find him if he's open.
Nice. Love it.
On defense, I'm going Alexander Johnson. This just has to be a big game for him. It's just not an option for him to not show up today. In a couple of games this year, you think in the third quarter, man, I haven't really heard Alexander Johnson's name that much. Can't happen. He needs to get his nose in there and just be I wanted to say cracking skulls, but that is you can't say that anymore. So just wreaking havoc, I'll say, at the line of scrimmage, and just making offensive players feel his presence.
I think we could say cracking skulls. I think that's
It's like cracking pads for sure.
Yeah, I don't think you could say cracking skulls anymore. Maybe in like 1998, you could get away with saying that.
Definitely in 98, yes.
In 1998, like a guy would get knocked out on the field, and they'd be like, looks like he got his bell rung out there. Gonna have to come out for a play or two.
Yeah.
But you can't do that anymore. Kareem Jackson also, speaking of that, like he needs to make his presence felt over the middle of the field early. Like he's gonna have to pop someone, and he knows it. Like you gotta make those guys think about it if they're gonna run underneath Kareem Jackson. And he did it late in the Chargers game, and I thought it just changed the feel. Like you give a guy one good pop, and everyone is like side-eyeing, looking for where 22 is whenever they're out on the field. So the Broncos are gonna have a really tough time stopping this offense today. But if Alexander Johnson can just make some plays in the hole, and Kareem Jackson can make his presence felt and just make them think about going over the middle and have, get some short hands out there, I think they have a chance. It's really going to come down to the red zone to me.
Just to clarify, by like making them think that he's there, you're talking about like the Falcons, right? You're not trying to get him to remind the Broncos that he's back there, because that's been an issue.
Yeah, I mean, the reason they don't have AJ Bouye today is because of Kareem Jackson.
Yeah, and Keanu Neal on the other side does the same stuff. It's every other week he takes out one of the other Falcons defenders. I'm not sure how all these guys wound up on the injury report, but I would credit him with half.
Wow.
Several double agents out there today.
Next level insights. I'm surprised none of us have said Bradley Chubb. I think Chubb could have
home state.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
Yep. He's going to have like 40 to 50 friends and family in the stadium. So maybe he does go off at playing, in that stadium, I think, for the first time. So that should be that's a good take. That's a good take. I mean, if the Broncos get a consistent pass rush, like a lot of the things we've talked about don't even matter.
Yes. Yeah.
So there you go. If that happens, you'll be happy. If Phillip Lindsay and Bradley Chubb are the two players we're talking about here, then I think the Broncos win.
Right. That's the big path to victory. Yeah.
All right. Before we move on, we're going to talk bets here in just a second, and we're going to talk about DraftKings Sportsbook, the leader in the sportsbook industry. Get on over there, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code DNVR when you sign up. You can get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. You can get on all sorts of awesome promotions, including today, a bet that I hit last week, which is the 20% profit boost on a parlay. So I'll give you my pick for that again here in a second. But there's always something fun to get in on DraftKings Sportsbook. So make sure you log in, use the code DNVR when you sign up, get that sign-up bonus up to $1,000 at America's top-rated sportsbook app. Of course, you must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires a 25x playthrough, and restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right, boys, what do you like on the slate today?
Broncos money line.
So much to talk about. Yeah.
What is going on with Broncos money line?
Especially for a second, I reversed the math and was like, oh, the Falcons are so good at blowing games. That's why it's that way. But then I was like, no, it should be the opposite.
Dude,
the money line should be like -120 when the points are +4. If that was the thinking, it's insane.
Right. We were having this conversation on Friday when the money line was at +175, which was already ridiculously high for a +4 margin.
Yes.
It's now at +188. Still +4. +188.
When did I get it this morning? Wait a second. I got it, Ryan. I mean, at less than an hour ago, I got it at 175.
Yeah, I mean, the Callahan injury, I had a feeling would have an effect.
It's still
But
at 4?
It's still at 4. They just changed the money line, which is weird to me. Like, they say, like, the number's not going to change, but somehow the Broncos are less likely to win.
Mine says plus 4.5. 4.5.
Oh, does it move in the last 10 seconds?
That's what mine says.
Oh, it did. It really did. Since I opened the app, it's changed. So they moved the money line before they moved the number. But there you go, plus 4.5. So Bryce Callahan worth a half point and 13 points on the money line. Henry, that's your you're loving that.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to overcomplicate things. Well, actually, as we're speaking, I'm trying to turn it into a parlay, so I am trying to overcomplicate
You are
things.
trying, yes.
But I really don't recommend it.
I'm still playing with what I'm calling funny money. So I'm in on the parlays, and I might as well just give it out right now. Broncos money line, which this is even going to go up. I'll tell you what I got it at. Broncos money line and Seahawks -3 parlayed together with the 20% profit boost plus 526. Now that's going to go up even more. I'd venture to guess that's going to go even over plus 550 with the updated money line.
I don't. Why is the sportsbook doing this to us? Have they not watched the Falcons, who are masters at blowing games late? Like, you thought the Chargers were good at this. The Chargers are merely just children messing around. The Falcons are absolute masters at blowing games late. No one is better. The Falcons just refuse to win games in the NFL. That's their thing. So that money line is just incredibly tempting. It's stupid to the point where I'm overthinking it. I also like the Giants as a money line. That's another spicy dog. And Ryan, we've been talking about it all week. The New Orleans Saints taking on Tampa Bay plus 165. Those are all three money lines that I'm very intrigued by. Fellas, what about this over-under set at 50 for the game? Bad defenses. You say we're going to have a lot of offense, but will we have a lot of points, Ryan?
I don't know. I feel like I'm overthinking this just because I've watched so much Broncos football. Whenever you think they're going to score a lot of points, it doesn't always work out that way. So there's a chance that this over hits in the first half. Yeah. And there's a chance that the Broncos score 17 points somehow and everyone's losing their minds collectively. And, I'm trying to stop everyone from rioting. So I don't trust over-unders in Broncos games. With that being said, it should hit. I mean, it should hit.
The over
should hit.
Wow.
So, I'll let you finish, Andre.
No, go ahead.
But I have a question. So the company, in our company Slack, they're talking about the bet that the company should take all together. And they're debating on Philip Lindsay rushing yards over 36 and a half. Yes, for sure. Everyone said it was a look. Huh?
Yeah.
Just stop. Everyone should just stop overthinking it.
Yeah. What's the other option, Allie?
Lindsay said her crazy pick was Jerry Jeudy last touchdown of the game.
That is a crazy one.
It might be the most asinine idea I've ever heard. It's so crazy it might work. It's so crazy it might work.
That's you hear like 20 more asinine ideas than that on a weekly basis.
Andre, we always talk about how people are always hitting the first TD and we never are. Yeah. We've literally never heard anyone even talk about betting on the last TD.
It's true. It's really true. Yeah, that can be a little rough. So you say it's an overs game here, huh?
I did not say that.
You said it should be.
Yes, but that means nothing.
Yeah, I mean, the Broncos team over, I think is like 22.5.
Oh, that feels good.
It feels like they've got to be able to do that.
But again, they might score 0. I don't know.
That's how betting works.
I cannot trust Broncos in points. What I will say is, Dre, don't you like the idea of if the Broncos start the fourth quarter down 14 points, hitting the live line?
I mean, that's what you should be doing. That is absolutely what you should be doing if the Falcons are giving you that kind of opportunity, and the Broncos. You should absolutely be hammering this live.
And with the Falcons already being favorites, if they're up big to start the fourth quarter, it's going to be like plus 1,000.
Unless Vegas understands what's happening. Like, I think at this point, they see the Falcons go up and they're like, obviously the line moves, but it's not going to be what it would be if the Falcons hadn't done the things.
Why would the money line be plus 188 then? Like, Vegas should know this is coming. They should be preventing this exact scenario, and yet they're not. They're letting it happen. They're giving you extra juice. They're incentivizing you to bet on the Falcons blowing a game late. I mean, come on. What is going on here?
I don't know.
In the odds boost category today, you have Chargers to lead in the fourth quarter and lose. But guess what? It's only plus 280. Like, they're basically saying it's like as likely as
it's like a 30% chance.
Yeah. They're saying, like, yeah, this is probably going to happen. There's a good chance that happens.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, Alex?
I'm really getting into betting. Okay, so I have a $10 free bet. What should I place it on? Should I do Philip Lindsay?
Yep. Phil rushing yards.
Don't ever take my advice on free bets, because
if I put $10, then my payout would be $17. That's so little.
It's true, Henry. Steer her the right way. I want to value hunt. I have instant urge to value hunt, much like I did with my 100% boost yesterday.
When you mean value hunt, you mean you want like a bigger payout? Okay, yeah, because if I put $5, I win $9 back.
I would steer you towards the Broncos money line, which we just talked about, but that's value hunting. Henry, please be the voice of reason. I beg you.
When I have made money betting, it's been because I've only taken things that I think are going to happen. When I've lost money betting, it's been because of the big number that shows up after you put in your amount of money.
Yeah, I mean that number. You're like,
no, don't mess around with it. Just use it like you have $10 in cash in your hand, and you are giving that $10 away to somebody. Do it and bet on Phil. Don't do something crazy, like find something that's plus 450 that you can talk yourself into. Make your money and walk away.
Okay.
That is the best advice anyone's going to give you all day. Yep.
Okay.
Don't listen to me, who has a plus 3,300 bet on my bet slip today, which I'm not revealing because I don't want to jinx it.
You're stressing Henry out. Henry literally went to grab his face
might as well just walk outside and give it to somebody who actually needs it, because what you're really doing is just giving it to DraftKings at this point.
Henry.
I can't wait to pull up this clip with my win and put it in my bet slip.
Well, I can't wait for the 99% of outcomes that involve me being right.
I have
probably even more than that.
3 bets in my bet slip that are plus 1,000 or more, and another one that's plus 2,000 or more. So in your face, Henry, they're all hitting, and you will not get any of those winnings. So there you go, in your face.
I wouldn't have anyway.
Allie, listen to Henry.
Yeah,
but Dre just made it seem like, and people in the comments are saying, "Run it up."
It's not their money. Don't let other people spend your money.
I was legitimately shaking while Henry gave that advice, because I'm so scared of blowing this for you, Allie. Please listen to the voice of reason. Do not listen to me. I have an unders parlay I feel really good about, if I may transition real quickly.
You have an overs parlay or an unders parlay every week that you feel good about.
Yeah, it's an NFL Sunday. That's exactly right. That's how I love to pass my weekends, Hank.
Cash.
I should mention, unders take a certain type of human. You might instantly regret it as soon as touchdowns are scored. So you want to have a more lit Sunday, go with the overs. Forget these unders. But if you want an under sweat it out Sunday, this is the parlay for you. You take the unders in Patriots Jets. That's prime time. You take the under in the other primetime game, that is Saints Buccaneers. Then you take the under Panthers Chiefs. The Chiefs, 2 fluky games against the Broncos Jets. They've been unders galore. Same with the Panthers. And then Ravens Colts. Love the under there. 48 points. That's absurd. Under. Kind of like the team under for the Ravens as well.
Man, if you want your Sunday to be like you're watching Uncut Gems, then bet on an unders parlay. You'll be
That's
anxious and sweaty and just feeling like the world is on your shoulders for all hours of the day.
That doesn't sound fun.
No, these men have a problem.
It's
Allie,
only
be
not.
smart.
It's only not fun if you lose.
You already feel that way, like watching your own team, and if they're gonna win. I mean, imagine last week with the Broncos. That game was like so crazy. Everyone was nervous just for the game. Then you're putting a crazy parlay under it. That sounds miserable.
Yeah, and so you're saying, oh boy, they better get a field goal instead of a touchdown. Otherwise, it's not going to matter, and I'm going to lose it. Like,
but I did select that free bet, and my payout would be $7, and I don't know. This is weird.
well, you have your $7, and then you get to the afternoon games, and you put that $7 on something else, and it's basically like a parlay, except you don't just have to lose it all right away and end your Sunday of betting.
Okay, Henry, you've convinced me. I'm going to take your advice.
Okay. I wish I had taken my advice.
It's sound thinking.
It makes sense. And also, when you're just getting started, winning $7 is a thrill. It's once you're, yes. You just wait and see.
I lost $10 real quick last week, and then I was like, okay, well, I guess I lost $7. I don't know about making 7 back.
Just wait until you see a green dot in your bet slip. Oh, there's nothing quite like it. The problem is, just like many people struggle with substances. Once you use them too much, you become desensitized. You need more. You need more to get that dopamine release. So just take the one hit while you can before you start having to mainline it.
And I could turn those $7 into a lot of money, or at least hypothetically speaking. Ryan, early in the week, you've gone off this, but I'm sticking to it. Our sharp enhancer, it's kind of a fade the public, follow the money type of trend. And if you do that, if you follow the money, Titans -6 against the Stinky Bears, really intriguing. The Saints +4.5 if you got in earlier. Very nice. I talked about the Giants +3. Raiders +1. Chargers, again, one of those teams that managed to blow every game they're in. And then Steelers -13.5. Anytime you have an opportunity to win money against Garrett Gilbert, is it?
Yes.
I think you take the money and run.
Yes. Go on, take the money and run. Great advice from Jay. We should start this on bets. Jay, we'll have to do it for next week, but we're going to call it the Smart Man's Parlay, which is an oxymoron because only dumb people make parlays, and we are those people. But what we do is we take all the money lines that we like, right? All the underdogs that we think are going to win, and just bet the spread. That, because one of them is likely to not hit because of something crazy. Like I got backdoored by USC yesterday when I had ASU money line +335 or something, and it's just like, man, if I took that up, I like Florida and I like the Buffs, and if I just took all 3 of those spreads, I would have had like a 5-1 win. So next week. Yep. We unveil the Smart Man Parlay. All right, we've got some questions here from the listeners that we'll hit quickly before we get out of here for game day. Over under on Broncos winning and 50.5 points. That is a confusing way to word that question, but I don't trust the number. I don't trust the over under. I don't trust it hitting.
Well, if you had to parlay the Broncos win with the over or the under, gun to your head, which one would you pick of those two?
Under.
I mean, Ryan laid out the scenario. This is what happens when Broncos games occur. Everyone freaks out on Twitter, and Ryan has to calm people down. That is gonna happen. I wish we didn't live in that world. That's the world we live in. Accept it. Take the under, and the Broncos win. It's gonna be ugly. It always is ugly. But with Drew Lock, they always have a shot. So there you go.
It's gonna
Probably
be beautiful.
smarter.
Broncos
Just
might hit that themselves.
Just take the +4.5.
Justin Jefferson, Corey Davis, or Devin Singletary as my flex in a PPR.
I'd take Corey Davis and Justin Jefferson.
Mhm.
Oh wait,
Nope.
just one. Corey Davis
Just
probably.
Oh, just one.
I'd say
Against-
J. Jeff.
Against the Bears, yeah, I'm saying J. Jeff as well. Jeffrey Okudah has not been great in his rookie season. I think he wins that rookie all matchup. Ooh, I say
To me,
Drew. It's crazy, but I say Drew.
I agree.
I think you're overthinking it if you played Drew. But
I mean,
they're the experts, so take their advice.
he outscored him last week.
Colts
You're talking about
defense,
the
man.
most average fantasy quarterback in the NFL with Lamar Jackson. I think Drew Lock's better than that this week.
Settle down.
He's quarterback 14. He's quarterback 14 on the season.
12 to 14. Yeah, you're right.
No, he's
I assume Drew Lock is below that, but he hasn't played. So,
Yes.
do you think Ajim gets some playing time today? Yes, I do. McLovin, excited to see him out there. He looks like a man on the field. That's the best thing I can say so far. So hopefully he makes some big boy plays.
Yeah, big time. They need him because, DeMarcus Walker is going to be key on pass rushing downs, but he's so light on run downs that they are going to need guys like Sylvester Williams, Ajim to kind of hold their end on against the run.
Lindsey 2019 salute to service jersey or orange Lindsey jersey?
I feel like service. It's the time of year for that.
There
Okay,
you
yeah.
go.
Civic
Boom.
duty, salute to service. I like it. Go Lindsey, salute to service. Pick 2, Tim Patrick, Visca, Claypool. You probably have to go Patrick and Claypool here. We just don't know how Visca's going to do with Jake Luton at quarterback.
Yeah, it's
Have a guess.
bad.
Yeah.
So, yes, Patrick Claypool for sure.
Yep.
Patrick and Claypool. All right. 10:55. 5 minutes to kick off. Broncos with a chance to get back to 500. Hoping it's going to be an entertaining game. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We appreciate everyone who watched. We appreciate everyone for hitting us with a thumbs up on YouTube. And we will be live right after the game with the DNVR Broncos post-game show. So tune in with us then. Until then, enjoy your Sunday afternoon. Have a good one, guys.